It was September 5th, 1972. The world's eyes were on Munich. The Games were meant to showcase a new Germany. Democratic, peaceful, modern. A country eager to turn the page on 1936, when Hitler had used the Olympics as a propaganda stage for the Third Reich. But at 4:30 a.m., as the Olympic Village slept, 8 shadows scaled the fence. They wore tracksuits. They carried rifles, pistols, and grenades. And within minutes, the dream of peace was shattered. This is the story of the Munich Massacre, a story of athletes turned hostages, of failure on the world stage, of vengeance that spanned continents, and of how, in one bloody dawn, modern counter-terrorism was born. The men were from Black September, a faction of the Palestinian Liberation Organization. Their target, the Israeli Olympic team. At 31 Connollystrasse, they broke into apartment 1, where most of the Israeli athletes slept. The resistance was immediate, but hopeless. 2 athletes were killed in the initial assault. The rest, 9 men, were dragged from their beds at gunpoint, bound, beaten, terrified. The terrorists made their demands clear. Israel must release 234 Palestinian prisoners. West Germany must release the leaders of the Baader-Meinhof group, also known as the Red Army faction. For the athletes, the Olympics were over. For the terrorists, the Games had just begun. By dawn, the world knew. TV cameras zoomed in on the balconies of the Olympic Village. Viewers saw shadows of masked gunmen. And in one chilling moment, an athlete was forced into view, paraded like a prize for the watching world. The standoff stretched across hours. Negotiations faltered. The terrorists were young, defiant, armed. The Germans were unprepared. Why? Because security at Munich had been intentionally lax. Germany wanted to present itself as open, friendly, a break from the militarism of the past. There were guards, yes, but lightly armed, barely trained. There was no dedicated counter-terrorism force, no SWAT, no blueprint for what to do when terrorists turned the world's greatest sporting event into a global hostage crisis. And so, every attempt at rescue failed. Every plan collapsed. The athletes waited, and time ticked away. By evening, the terrorists demanded transport. A bus carried them and their hostages to helicopters waiting nearby. From there, they were flown to Fürstenfeldbruck Air Base, where they were told a Boeing 737 would take them to Cairo. But there was no plane. It was a trap. German authorities had decided to act. Snipers were deployed around the airfield. Their mission? End the siege. Save the athletes. But here was the truth. These men weren't snipers at all. They were policemen. They had no radios to coordinate, no night vision in the dim light. The police were issued H&K G3 rifles with iron sights. This means no scopes and ammunition with poor ballistics and range. In other words, these were pea-shooter rifles that should be used for training, not for snipers, and with no training for what was about to unfold. The stage was set for chaos and disaster. The firefight began in confusion. Gunshots echoed across the airfield. The terrorists opened fire. The policemen responded. Tracer rounds lit the night like dying stars. Inside the helicopters, the athletes were trapped, bound, gagged, powerless. As the battle raged, the terrorists made their final move. They fired into the helicopters. They threw grenades inside. Flames consumed the cabins. 9 Israeli athletes, every last hostage, were executed. 1 German police officer was killed. 5 of the terrorists were shot dead. 3 were captured alive. When the smoke cleared, the Games were stained with blood. The world watched in horror. How could this happen? Here, at the Olympics, before the eyes of the world. Germany's reputation lay in ruins. Their security failures were impossible to ignore. And the families of the athletes? Their grief was not private. It was televised. The Games of Peace had become a massacre, and terrorism had announced itself on the global stage. The failures at Munich had consequences too. Germany created GSG-9, one of the world's most elite counter-terrorism units. The United States drew lessons as well, contributing to the eventual creation of Delta Force and SEAL Team 6. Modern counterterrorism, the kind that would later storm hijacked planes, breach embassies, eliminate terrorist leaders, was born in the ashes of Munich. Mom, the Olympics are supposed to celebrate life, but in Munich, the torch lit something darker. The games became a stage for terror. The athletes never came home, and the world learned a terrible truth. In the new age of terror, nowhere was sacred. Not even the games. From us to you, always stay vigilant. Always be safe. You've been listening to what we weren't told. We are a tribe. We don't settle for headlines. We walk into the shadows together, and we expose what hides there. If this story opened your eyes, like, subscribe, and share. It motivates us to keep creating and to keep bringing you more of what we weren't told. Next time, the danger isn't at the games. It isn't in the skies. It's already inside the house, the babysitter killers, when trust becomes the deadliest weapon of all.